The UFC Picks podcast is brought to you by the UFC Picks app, a new free-to-play pick'em app that gives you the chance to win £5,000 in a cash giveaway. Check out the Picks app in the App Store and get your picks in now. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our new podcast. This is the official UFC Picks podcast. And obviously, we're starting it with UFC 257. We've kind of thrown the set together very quickly. We needed to get this one up and running because there's lots to talk about, and the app's being launched very soon. So go and check that out. Get it downloaded, get yourself an account, free account. There's money being given away, so make sure your picks are on point. Make sure you do your research. And we're going to go through the card today. We'll start with the preliminary card. And this is going to be the format of the show going forward. We'll talk about the fights as we go up to the main card, the main event. And I'm kind of going to play devil's advocate, and Ollie's going to make the picks for Full Reptile. So you'll be able to see what our picks are, and we'll have a little bit of fun with this. But also send over your picks so we can see what you're picking and how you're doing. I will just say that the cable, for some reason, for the audio charger is not working. So we're running on batteries. So if I keep checking into that, then please excuse me. I've got a few action figures as well. Do you like them?
Here we go.
I got your Dan Henderson.
I love them.
Because, I mean, obviously, this is me. This is me from the boat race with my Clipper shorts on that were painted by one of my crewmates.
Very cool.
But I was looking for a Keith Jardine one, and they didn't have one.
Well, you got me instead. So there you go.
That's
it's
it.
as good as.
I looked for Keith Jardine. I looked for Bill Burr. Who else do you
Keith
get?
Burr. We'll just get a Keith Burr in the middle there. It'll be perfect.
How you doing? All good?
Really good, mate.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this. I think it's going to be
Excellent.
awesome.
I should intro you, really. I mean, we've done a couple of podcasts before. This is Ollie.
times.
So Ollie was in my corner for the GSP fight. He was my strength and conditioning coach for the majority of the best parts of my career. Strength and conditioning coach, rugby, swimming, whatever.
Pretty much my whole life's been in pro sport, as you know. I mean, we would have hooked up in 2006, 7, something like that, just as you were coming to the UFC.
Yeah.
What a ride.
What a ride.
What a ride.
But now you crossed over full-time to MMA because we're on
now
Full Reptile.
Now we're MMA or nothing. So we're
MMA
Full
or
Reptile.
nothing.
We're riding this wave. We're going to blow this up as much as we can.
Yeah.
And it's exciting, right?
Oh, what's this?
Oh, there we go. It's
There's an
good
update
stuff.
available.
Perfect
Here we
time
go.
to
Look at
update
that.
live on the new podcast.
Here we go. Hang on a minute. We can fix this. Next time.
Yeah, probably next time. Not next episode, just in general next
That's
time.
literally how new this podcast is. I plugged the TV in to make sure it worked about 20 minutes ago.
And didn't update it.
And we've had that problem before. Do you remember?
Yeah,
when I plugged the TV in and got it mounted up, took the wrapping off and everything, it had a big crack across the screen.
Beautiful.
Jeez. Okay,
Beautiful.
Let's get into this. Right, so we'll miss the early prelims, although there is a fight on there I do want to draw your attention to. It's Nick Lentz against Movsar Evolutive. Poor old Lentz was supposed to be fighting Mike Grundy.
Right. We looked at it and
Yeah.
talked about it, didn't we? Because we were looking at Mike Grundy. And then Mike or someone in his team got COVID,
It was a teammate,
right?
yeah. Teammate, coach, I'm not sure exactly, but so obviously
Imagine
he's
getting
been...
that close.
Oh, dude.
Do all that camp.
And he was at the hotel in London as well.
feel
Like
for
he'd
him.
done the camp. They'd even driven down from Liverpool in the same car. This is the weird thing about this COVID situation is you've got 4 guys in
Another
the car
weird
and only
thing.
one of them tests positive. I
Right.
don't know. It's very strange. Okay, that's definitely a fight to watch. Evolueve's a very good wrestler, but Nick Lentz is a fascinating individual.
Yeah, I've never forgiven him for lying on Andre all those years ago and not doing anything. And
Andre went by decision.
Dre couldn't do much about it. Couldn't do much about it. But
Though, isn't
I mean, they were both relatively young at the time, and Nick's been around for a while now.
Long
right?
time,
Long
yeah.
time.
And he only loses to the best guys. I mean,
Yeah.
he is a stalwart of the division.
Yeah,
Throwing that word in.
just tough, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just a tough guy.
Okay, let's start with the preliminary card. So the first fight on the preliminary card, light heavyweight, and this is a bit of there's definitely pressure on Prachio, given the fact that he's not won yet in the UFC.
I don't like how this looks for Prachio, really, do you?
No?
So Prachnio's lost three in a row.
Yep.
All to KOs or TKOs.
Yeah, is it one second round all first round.
Right.
Look at that.
That's not looking great coming up against Roundtree.
It's not. And the thing is as well, like when he came into the UFC, I mean, look at that. What was he on? A 8-fight win streak coming into the UFC?
Yeah.
And you look, the last person that beat him before that was Alexander Rakic by was that TKO? Yeah, 3 minutes into the third round. But that was back in 2014. He put 8 wins together, stopping every one but 2. So 6 out of the 8 were stoppages, KOs. And then got signed to the UFC and made his debut against Sam Alvey. I actually called his second fight against Magomed Ankalaev, and I'll be honest. I mean, Ankalaev's a killer. He is a very dangerous individual. So it didn't surprise me that he picked up that loss there. But of those three opponents, I feel like he should have got a win if he was UFC standard. So this is going to be a real tough test for him with that pressure on his shoulders.
For sure. I mean, it's not like Roundtree is necessarily in a flow state, like he's on win loss. He's not exactly in, he's not flowing, just getting in there and knocking people out all the time.
No.
He did TKO Gokhan Saki, which is not that's
not
no
an easy
mean
thing
feat,
to do.
right?
Not an easy thing to do.
I mean, obviously he lost to Johnny Walker.
Well, the thing is
he's
with
fought some good guys. He's fought some tough guys. I just think it's a nasty matchup, right? You keep getting knocked out, and the next fight is against Roundtree, who's knocking people out.
Yeah,
it's just tough.
But then, I mean, aside from the Gokhan Saki fight in his last couple of years, I mean, he had that decision win over Eric Anders, and there was a shift in his approach to fights. He spent was it Tiger Muay Thai? He's out at Tiger Muay Thai, and he seems to have really sharpened that Muay Thai skill set. I mean, he's literally right. I remember watching him. Was he standing in his corner for the Gokhan Saki fight? And he was literally like he was
right. I mean, me and you, we talk about movement, we talk about space, and we talk about manipulating all the time. That I don't like it when they go to that. Just out and out Thai style, but this is not Thai. Yeah. This is not Thai boxing. You need to be able to move a lot more athletically than just that set, bouncy, rhythmical stance. That isn't the rhythm of this sport. That's the rhythm of another sport. I just think it's got to be careful. I mean, to some degree it works for him, but
well, I mean, the thing is with it, like, Muay Thai works fine because most people don't cover distance as fast as they do in MMA. I mean, that's why Senchai is taking people off their feet, because he covers distance and takes legs. But most of the time, Muay Thai is a much steadier pace, and they lean on their back leg to poke with the front leg because it's majority kicks over punches.
So the rhythm suits.
Right. And there's less space, so you're not getting ran down against the fence. And if you look at the two losses that he's had recently, Johnny Walker and Ion Kutalaba, not only were they fast first round finishers, I mean, less than half a round for Johnny Walker and just over half a round for Kutalaba, both of them are elbows. And that's someone closing distance very, very quickly with a lot of aggression, which is exactly what you see with Walker and Kutalaba. Closed distance and cracked him. And I mean, that one in Copenhagen, his last one against Kutalaba, it was just, he just got decimated. He didn't even get warmed up in the fight. Right. So, I mean, Prachio coming in with something to prove. And one thing I will say, he's coming off 3 losses.
Last chance saloon, right? We
had Alessio Di Chirico at the weekend take out Buckley, and he was on 3 losses as well.
True. Nothing concentrates on more, right?
Backed into a corner. You know what I mean? You've got to do something. So and
fun fight.
It is a fun fight, and Prachio has kind of a really weird movement to him as well. He switches his stance. He gives different looks. He does like to tie people up, and you remember the Mike Rodriguez fight, like he tied him up, got caught in the clinch, hit with some knees, and then was put down with that elbow. I think if Roundtree shows up with a good Muay Thai game and just is able to slow it down for the first couple of minutes and not get ran over, which Prachio, if his confidence is where it should be, coming off 3 losses, he's not going to be coming crashing forward.
I'm gonna pick Roundtree.
You're going Roundtree with that
sure,
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick Roundtree. And while we're at it, what a great concept, right? Now we get to play along and see actually knows who knows what they're talking about, and everyone can play it. Everyone can get on the app. Everyone can download it, and we can have a informed discussion about, do you actually know what we're talking about?
Exactly, and we can get it on record, because as we know, the Raptors, they like to change their opinions halfway through the fight.
Well, it depends how much pressure you put on them. That's the direction they change their opinions towards.
That's true. I do like to get inside their brain a little bit and see if I can.
It's great, right? So we're going to get the Raptors to be doing picks, and then Full Raptor will be doing picks, and then we can all follow along and see how we go.
See how everyone's going. Okay, let's go on to the next one then. So Juliana Pena against Sarah McMann. So Sarah McMann, as we know, former title contender, high level wrestler. Coming off a decision win over, is it Lena Landsberg?
Yeah.
Used her wrestling, used her experience in competition, and was able to nullify her all the way through that fight. The issues that Sarah McMann's had is when it hits the floor and she finds herself in submissions. I mean, I know she's got a couple of good arm triangles on her record over Alexis Davis and Gina Mazzani, but rear naked choke to Amanda Nunes, arm triangle to Caitlin Vera, and a triangle from Marianne Renault. I always think Marianne Renault's underestimated. she's got a very good ground game. She's kind of counted out because she's like a 40-year-old PE teacher, but she is lethal. I mean, she's got a great ground game. She showed that against Holly Holm, so I can't count that out. Lena Landsberg's much more of a Muay Thai fighter in MMA though, and that's very, very suited to Sarah McMann. But on the flip side, Juliana Pena's got submissions as well as striking. I mean, we saw her get subbed in her last fight by a Thai boxer, so that doesn't bode well still. But no. I do feel like she's going to have some ground game to compete with Sarah McMann when she's on the floor.
The thing is, though, man, Olympic level is Olympic level. It's so hard to get to the Olympics, let alone excel at the Olympics. And, that's where McMahon's at. And I'll be interested to know what you think of. So, Pena has fought in Fight Island, right? She's been over there. She's been in the bubble. She's been through that process. She's out. It's new for a lot of people, and obviously Sarah hasn't done that as far as I'm aware. Do you think that can play into it at all? Do you think there's everything seems worse the first time you do it, right? And then the second time you go back there, you're like, oh yeah, I understand all this now. I get it now. I could just concentrate on what I've got to do. Do you think that could play into it?
I mean, I think it could. I think one thing that will do Sarah McMann a favour is the fact that, I mean, you look at her competition record and where she's competed and how far she's travelled to compete. I mean, like look at that amateur wrestling record from sort of 2009, starting at 2000 all the way to 2009. She's been all over the world competing. So, like, being out of her comfort zone in unusual places and not being looked after nearly as much as you would be with the UFC. Right. Like, she's going to be able to adapt to that. And the other thing I'll say as well is that this is a different arena. Like, for what Juliana Pena will remember of that last fight after getting choked out, like, she'll have the process of, I mean, the hotel's the same, of course, the journey to and from the hotel and all that's the same, but the arena's much bigger. The changing rooms are different, so it's not like you can get that visualization. Yeah. And there's a crowd again.
Where Sarah's had to deal with Azerbaijan, China,
Go on,
Hungary.
Say that again.
I'm not trying a third time. Azerbaijan. There we go. There's some worse names coming up that I'm going to have to get right. Azerbaijan, China, Hungary, Greece, obviously the States, Bulgaria. She's, you would think she'd be robust enough to be able to deal with it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But I just, we know from experience, once you go back to a place, you know where everything is. You know where the Starbucks is around the corner. There's other coffee brands as well, but we'll go with Starbucks. It's just your rhythms are back in place, and all you have to do then is concentrate on the weight cut and the fight.
Yeah.
It's just an easier route, isn't it?
Yeah. I think there's going to be some confidence for Juliana Pena, the fact that she's already kind of trodden those boards, as it were. But at the same time, that last one wasn't a good experience for her. And that was her first fight coming back in a while as well. So that is going to further lay on the pressure. I mean, look at the time between fights. So you got Nico in. Oh, no, sorry. She got that Nico Montano fight. So she lost to Shevchenko by armbar after giving her a good fight. And then...
Yes, yeah.
Then she had a child, didn't she? So she was out a couple of years. And then she came back. Yeah. She got that decision over Nico, who, I mean, obviously she was the champion, but it was kind of a winner of tough champion. It's a different kind of credential, in my opinion. But then the fight against Germaine, Germaine's a Thai boxer. Like, we know that from her previous career, I was offered a fight against her in Thai boxing once, believe it or not. And I turned it down. Yeah. She's
wise.
Vicious.
Very wise.
But then she got the submission in the third round as well. And put her to sleep as well. It was a good squeeze. So,
just going back to Sarah, look at who she put some names on her record.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's won all of those, but she's got in there with some of the top people in that division for sure.
Is that my very first time sitting octagon side with a mic in my hand was a practice run for that fight against Ronda.
Right.
And I remember seeing just the kind of shock in her eyes at the speed and ferocity that Ronda came at her with.
Just anger, just operating off anger,
vicious,
and frustration. Yeah, loved it. What an amazing ride.
Are you picking that one then? So McMann coming off a decision win.
I'm going McMann for full reptile.
Are you really? Go on.
Olympics rules.
Give me a further prediction. Oh, she's going to wrestle.
Olympic rules. She's going to. She's gonna put her on her back, and she's gonna get half guard. She's gonna beat on her until she maybe gives up her back. Maybe she gives up her back.
Okay.
And then she goes for submission. She goes for a rear naked.
Okay. I can see that's a good pick. One thing I will say in just to play devil's advocate,
beat people into submission. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Beat people into submission.
Beat them into taking a submission. Yeah. Pena's good at creating scrambles, and she will have taken her eyes off the prize when it came to takedowns against Durandamy, because she just wouldn't have expected her to have that sub. So, I mean, she might want to keep this one standing. She might be forcibly trying to keep Sarah McMann standing and keep her out of her range. I always remember that punch that Amanda Nunes caught Sarah McMann with, just ferocity, traveled forward, cracked her clean, dropped her, and was all over on the floor. Like, Pena's aggressive. She does put it on people. She put it on Valentina Shevchenko when they faced each other.
That pays as well, It pays.
Yeah.
Controlling the octagon, putting it on someone rather than waiting. I know that obviously there's two ways of playing that, but it does pay, especially in the eyes of judges and the eyes of people watching.
Yeah.
If you're going out there to make it happen.
Well, that's it. It's octagon control, it's aggression, it's effectiveness. Like, if she can just push the pace and force McMann to defend, or at least be shooting defensively, she could start.
It's a midweek card, right? But it's a good card.
It is a good card.
Some fun fights when you start picking them apart.
Yeah, no, it is a good card.
Yeah. You're not swaying me.
Huh?
You're not swaying
I'm not.
me.
You're staying there.
We're going to go with McMann.
Okay.
She's going to blast a double and put her on her back, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Okay. So are you going? What is this? All red corn? Yeah, it's all red corn at the moment.
Right.
I think Poirier's the A side in this fight. I think he's coming out second. So that means that whole side of the card. Okay. I'm just gonna.
We'll get to that, my friend. We'll get to that.
Twist that there, and I'm just gonna check this because I'm paranoid that it's not recording. Because we're all good.
All good.
See, the Raptors are away playing, and we're back here. I've had to rush back here to get some proper.
When are they
work
not
done.
playing?
When are they not?
Do you know what I mean? When are they not playing?
I just had a phone call from Mystery telling me he's been hanging out with Habib, and he's got protein bars for me, so I'm happy.
Equally good news.
Equally
on both
good news. All right, next fight. Brad Tavares,
Yep.
Antonio Carlos Jr.
I was saying before they started, I feel like Brad Tavares has been around for forever.
Dude, forever.
Right?
Forever. Yeah. He was an Ultimate Fighter guy. Ultimate Fighter 11, 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a long time in MMA.
It is a long time. And so what is he? 17-6. 5 knockouts.
And Carlos Jr. is 10-4, right?
Yeah. There's definitely a consistency with Shoeface's Shoeface.
No.
It's Karen Bryant's favourite nickname in the whole sport.
I can see
Shoeface. Yeah. It's a good one. There's a clear consistency to his game. He likes to take people down and take their back, and he's a big, strong individual for this weight class. And I used to train with Brad Tavares back in Vegas, and I always felt like he was small for a middleweight. Like, he's a little bit of a Kelvin Gastelum, slightly leaner and bigger, but not quite big enough to be like, you put him in there with some of the bigger guys in the middleweight division, and he does start to look a little small, especially because they're all getting bigger. And I remember standing next to Shoeface and thinking, how is he making 185? He is a big dude. So I would say strength and grappling advantage clear for him. On the other side, Brad Tavares' confidence in the striking ranges. I mean, he works with what's his name? Why am I forgetting his name? Fantastic kickboxer, Ray Cepho.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They're out in Extreme Couture, and they've just clicked. I mean, they've got a very similar personality. They like to bang, but they like to be intelligent about it and kind of make the person feel a little bit silly because they're not good enough. I think that's a good fit. And I mean, Brad Tavares, he was on a 4-fight win streak. I mean, he lost to Rob Whittaker, but then a lot of people have, and that was that weird kind of left hook caught him on the way in behind the front kick. It was a beautiful knockout from Whittaker. Before he was the champ as well, that was.
No shame in losing to Whittaker. He's just one of the not only one of the most dangerous, one of the nicest guys I've ever come across in the sport, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Just a good dude.
That's it. Calm, collected, and lethal. Same as Brad Tavares, but I just don't think he's. I mean, he got like that 4-fight win streak. Magalhaes, Elias Theodorou, Talish Latis, and Jotko. I mean, Latis has been around forever as well.
Right.
He's one of Aldo's training partners, and he's been around for a long, long time. He fought Anderson Silva.
Yep.
But the sleeper is Jotko. That's a really good win because people always underestimate Jotko because he's got it's a bit of a monotone style. It's a little bit beige. There's nothing that stands out about it, but he's just consistently awkward.
Solid.
Yeah.
Solid and awkward. Yeah,
good striking. I mean, his game's coming together a little bit, but
I've got a funny Ray Cepho story, about Ray Cepho and Roppongi in Tokyo, but I don't think I can tell it on air. I'll have to tell you another time.
I don't anything to do with Roppongi. I think it's a bad idea for a recorded podcast.
We'll leave that one for now.
Yeah. So Jotko is a good win, but that was his last win, and since then he's lost to Adesanya, who obviously is the champ.
Yeah.
And that was over 5 rounds. I mean, he lost a decision to Adesanya. And a lot of people have been stopped by Adesanya, just completely outclassed. So that does put his striking defense up there. But then Adesanya's not really going to challenge his ground game like Shoeface is, and neither's Edmund Shabazian, who also stopped him in the first round. And Edmund's one of the rising stars in this division. So he's had a couple of rough ones. I mean, look at his losses: Romero, Bosch, Whittaker, Adesanya, and Shabazian. He's like just outside top 10, isn't he? He's just banging his head on that ceiling.
Right? People that's where they stay for a little while, and they either push on and they get past that gate, and they have enough reflection on their game that they can upskill the bits they need to upskill, and that pushes them through that bracket, or they don't and they sit there and then they just slowly work their way down.
It's kind of the gatekeeper position, isn't it? I mean, it's a high quality gatekeeper because he is ranked number 13.
I think I'm going to go with Tavares on slightly experience.
Yeah.
Slightly.
What, stoppage or decision? I mean, to be honest,
I can't call that right now.
You can't call it. I mean,
the other thing too, I think they're both coming off 2 losses. I'm pretty sure they're both off 2 losses.
I think Shoeface is on 3 losses, isn't it? Oh, isn't he 2 losses?
Right.
Oh no, 2 losses. Yeah, but
so both coming off it. So there's a lot of maybe it comes down to who can handle the pressure of like this might be our last one.
Yeah.
And then Brad's been around for just that little bit longer, and maybe that plays into the game.
There's some good wins on it. I mean, to sub Tim Bosch is not an easy thing to do. You know how tough Jack Marshman is. Eric Spicely is a good black belt as well. He got subbed in the second round, and it's consistent rear naked. I mean, how many? That's 1, 2, 3. 4 rear naked chokes, 5 rear naked chokes, an arm bar and 2 arm triangles, and that's an arsenal for submissions. That is, but rear naked choke is the lion killer. It's the one. But then look at those last 2 losses. He's got Ian Heinisch, who's just one of those tough, gritty strikers, very much like Brad Tavares, who would just kind of walk you down and pressure you with boxing and stop all your takedowns, which is what Heinisch did in that fight. And then Uriah Hall, who's a slick striker, kind of hangs out on the outside, but he was that was a split decision. He wasn't caught with anything clean in either of those fights, but was beaten over the distance. So Brad Tavares over the distance to kind of slowly eat away at him and stuff his takedowns. I think that's a pretty interesting fight and a fairly safe bet, I would say, for Brad Tavares if that's the way you're picking.
I'm going to lock him in. I'm going to lock Tavares in.
That's the way you're picking.
Yeah.
So when he's getting strangled first round rear naked choke, you're not going to wish you listened to me a bit more.
That's the picks. I'm going to lock him in.
As Brad,
look at those last 2. Those 2 losses. There's no shame. There's no shame in those last 2 losses.
No, there aren't. And he's never been stopped either. He's never been stopped. He's stopped once by Dan Kelly. But Brad Tavares, what's his saying? Has he been subbed? I'm trying to think if he's been. Yeah, no, he's never lost by submission. You see,
no,
he's been beaten by strikers or he's been beaten by decision. He's never been subbed.
Oh, John Farrell, right back in 2008, rear naked choke, right down the bottom.
No, that's a win.
Oh, sorry, no,
that's
you're right.
Yeah, no losses. Decision to Romero. He got stopped by Bosch, which is a good credit for Shoeface because he's got a submission win over Bosch in the first. Lost to Whittaker, no shame in that, of course. And then the decision to Adesanya and then the head kick from Shabazian. So, I mean, credentially, he looks pretty good as far as his takedown defense, sub defense. Let me just have a look. See, UFC stats is always a good one if you want to educate your picks. I'm on this website a lot, and what I like about this one is that it tells you like. Okay, where are we? So, takedown defense for Brad Tavares is 77%, which is high. That's a good stat. Shoeface is shooting over 3 takedowns per 15 minutes, though. And his takedown accuracy is 44%. So, if say let's for the sake of my maths being poor, let's round that up to 50% takedown accuracy, and let's round that up to 4 takedown attempts per fight. So he's shooting 8
twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's shooting 8 times.
Twice around, you're on your back at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're still sticking with
it. I'm still sticking with it. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. No, we're good.
The thing is, like, as soon as you make a pick, and this is why I like playing devil's advocate role, is as soon as you make a pick, I start to then unpick it and go, but that's not going to happen because of such and such.
But the beauty of the sport, right, is you can pretty much make a case for either side. Very rarely just like, there's no way this is going to happen.
Yeah, the challenge for me is not getting caught up too much in my my siding with the underdog and wanting the impossible to happen. Okay, good to move on. So we've got Roundtree, Pena, and Tavares so far. All red corner.
Yeah, that's complete coincidence.
I think this one's going to sway you.
It's complete coincidence.
I think this one's going to sway you. So the feature bout on the preliminary card is Nasrat Haqparast against Arman Tsarukyan.
All day, Tsarukyan.
Yeah?
All
Okay,
day.
we've got a blue corner then. So
Like him.
what, decision?
I like him. I think he could probably hang in there long enough with him to get to a decision.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
I mean,
we were talking before we started, the only loss on his record is to Islam Makhachev.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? You know, no one I've ever met wants to lose, but that's there's no shame in that, really.
Not at all.
Especially, he's an up and coming killer, isn't he?
He is, absolutely. And it was fight of the night. It wasn't like he was dominated. I mean, and I remember because he came into the UFC with one loss. What was he? 13-1 coming in. He's got that knockout loss 6 years ago. That was a 30-second first round knockout. Like, that's the kind of thing that you just get caught cold sometimes. You know, he runs out, bam, 30 seconds and you're done. He just didn't get into that fight. But then you go further up his career and like he's finishing guys in the first round. He's got stoppage, he's got guillotines and rear naked chokes, spinning kick to the body, 30 seconds of the third round in Beijing, China. So like there's a striking arsenal there.
I like him, man.
Yeah.
I really like him. I think he's
at ATT now as well.
I think he's going to be great.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really good. I think he's going to be great. How old is he?
Oh, he's young.
1996. Holy shit.
Yeah, 24.
Yeah.
What was I when I was 24? I think things were black and white when I was 24. I think TV still had a curve.
Yeah, right.
Certainly didn't have a laptop and definitely didn't have a phone.
You know, I had a Super Nintendo.
I think I was still on Atari at the time. That Makhachev fight is worth a watch again. I might actually watch that later because in
Russia against Makhachev.
Exactly. And it was
tough call.
Yeah, it was a tough call, and it was a hard. I mean, you can't get much more of a difficult debut than that. So to get a fight of the night against him, and it was predominantly a wrestling exchange as well. So he hung in there absolutely with his wrestling, and then those two wins that he's got since then, Olivier Aubin-Mercier and Davy Hamosh, are both tough, strong, durable fighters.
And he's shown he can hang. You know, he can hang in there if he needs to hang in there and take it to a decision. You know, he's got some good finishes earlier in his career, but when he gets up to those top tier guys, he can stay in there and he can, you know, dog it out and take it to a decision and get, you know, 2 unanimous decisions, and then obviously lost that unanimous decision against Makhachev. But like we've touched on, there's no shame in that.
Well, he's top 10 now, Makhachev, isn't he? So it does validate Tsarukyan the better that Makhachev does in his career. And the other thing that's worth mentioning, just going back to what you were talking about earlier with Pena and McMann, his last win was in Fight Island on the Benavides Figueiredo
Used to
one.
it.
Yeah.
So
he's got that positive reinforcement. Now he's going back out to Fight Island. He's thinking to himself,
I've been here before.
Yeah.
Done this. I came away with a win. I was going to say be used to the heat and what have you over there, but I'm imagining now you're going from aircon into the stadium. You know what I mean? It's not like you have to deal with the desert heat.
Yeah, you can't
Can't
actually really leave
desert,
the hotel. No, you can't. I mean, there's like a little square outside, so I was just doing laps around there running, but and it is cooler as well at the moment.
Yeah.
It is cooler out there at the moment.
No, I like him, man. I'm going with him.
Tsarukyan
for the win.
All right.
I tell you what, I'll go Tsarukyan for the finish.
Oh,
he's going to
really?
He's going to buck the
First finish
he's going to
in
buck
the
the
UFC?
trend of his decisions, and he's going to get a finish.
I will say in Haqparast's defense, I mean, he's young as well. Look at that, 25. I was very, very impressed with him when he took on Mark Jacasey.
Yeah,
because Jacasey's he's one of those special athletes. You could just you could turn him to any sport and give him 6 months of training, and he's gonna cause problems.
Be a pro.
He's super quick, very athletic, but he just got walked down. It was a consistent walking down from Nasrat, and good striking. He's a talented striker. He's gonna have to defend some takedowns in this one though, because that in the back pocket of being able to just level change and cause you issues.
I mean, we'll touch on that later on. There's a couple of fights that have that narrative in there, isn't there? But how long have we talked about it? If you have that skill set, there's an amount you can dictate that if you don't have that skill set, it's being dictated to you,
Yeah.
and that's just the way it is, isn't it?
Like if you're a good wrestler, you can be an average grappler and striker and decide where your opponent's least comfortable.
Yeah.
And just work towards that. And Haqparast is not going to want to hit the ground with Tsarukyan. Because, especially if he goes back and looks at that fight against Makhachev. I mean, I said it earlier this week, I don't know where it came from, but they literally looked like they were two squirrels fighting over a nut. Like the speed at which they were moving, I'm like
it's getting a lot faster, right?
It is.
Across the board, across all of the weight classes. What was standard practice has now been elevated. Everything's the same but quicker.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure. And even with David Zavada at the weekend, like he was taken down by Ramazan Amiv. And like I remember DC commenting, he was like, whoa, that was a nice stand up and get out. Like he stood up, stripped the grip off his waist, bumped out and was good to go.
Yeah. It's just like people they just have process now, whereas they get caught out, their skill set would get caught out, but there's always process now. It's like, I know what happens there. I know, we've drilled this a million times now. I know what happens there. You're not going to catch me out. You can pivot and do something off the back of me stuffing this, but I'm going to do something to that. And that's why these scrambles are so amazing. You can just see things happening and things are reacting and people are going and they're countering the counters. And then that's when you end up with these amazing scrambles to strikes to scrambles.
I'm not going to try and influence that pick again, but Sarah McMann's Olympic level wrestling is wrestling for the Olympics. It's not wrestling for MMA.
Of course,
and I do think that's probably why she's been subbed a couple of times. Because if you think, if you take a wrestler down, especially if they've been hit, they've been concussed, their first instinct is to do what they're used to doing, which is to flat belly out. So they're not, and that's the opposite of what you want to do in MMA. Please
check me out. Right.
So you still
remember we used to chat about out and out judo guys when they'd come to BJJ. Their safety position was either turtled or flat on the front, and then the BJJ guys are like, thanks a lot, I'll have some of that.
Just near him in the ribs. I remember going to a couple of judo sessions and this big old bloke just locked up on the floor. It was like trying to prise a turtle out of its shell, and he was having none of it. I was like, I couldn't knee him in the side here, I could knee him in the ribs.
I know how to open this turtle shell.
So prelim card, we've got Roundtree, Pena, Tavares, and then you're kicking over to the other corner and you're going with Tsarukyan.
And again, that has nothing to do with the corners, but that's just the way it's worked out. Yeah, okay. Tsarukyan for sure. That's my pick. Our pick, I should say.
Yeah.
On behalf of
it'll be your pick if it's wrong, it'll be our pick if it's correct.
Of course. That's just the way the world works.
Main card.
Yes.
I'm excited for this one kicking off the card. I tell you what, women's strawweight, these are two of the young fighters in the division that are making waves, and one of these is going to just push ahead of I say young. Marina Rodriguez is 33. I thought she was younger than that. She's not been in the UFC for long. She is. She's got that tall.
She's the Keith Jardine of the female division. She's just awkward and long, and you can just tell her elbows are going to cut you, and her hands are hard.
Yep.
And she just that awkwardness is almost a unique selling point in some ways, isn't it?
It is absolutely, because it's just difficult to time it.
You just have to deal with that timing.
Yeah, it's the same with Condit. Like we were talking about that, and we're going back to the weekend's card again. But that head roll dip to head kick that he was doing, that's what caught GSP and nearly put him down. Like there is something to be said for awkward timing.
Yeah, for sure.
And you'll know firsthand being Keith Jardine.
I know. My timing is just awful. Not awkward. It's just awful. Ask Judo Jimmy Waller, he'll tell you numerous times. I really like Amanda Hebas.
Yeah.
I really like her. I know she came on the scene and she got popped for ostarine, didn't she? Which was then revoked, I believe, because of tainted supplement. Black belt in BJJ. Black belt in judo, I believe.
Yeah,
I really
Dad
like
was
her.
a fighter.
I was watching her last night in prep for this, and my bias is always about movement and how people move. She moves really nice. Sometimes she has a bit of an awkward sort of shoulder hold up sometimes, but she's just protecting herself. I like the way she moves. She moves athletically. I
was impressed with her against Mackenzie Dern.
Right.
Because and she fought up a weight class there as well, didn't she? Just a calm performance, and she's got two submissions in the UFC, one over Emily Whitmire, Spitfire, a great nickname. That's not an easy feat, because Whitmire's got a good ground game as it is, and then an armbar over Paige Van Zandt, and we know how tough Van Zandt is.
Yeah.
We know how tough she is, because you can twist her up and beat her up and snap her arms and all kinds of stuff, and she keeps going. Yeah.
I mean, even I don't know, so Rodriguez is awkward, and she seemed, as I was watching it, I don't really like putting my opinions on striking out in front of you, but she seemed a bit loopy sometimes, and Hebas just seemed straight down the pipe, and she just those straight hard punches, and I just wonder whether, you know, that'll get inside of the loopy punches coming from Rodriguez.
What's the difference in? Let's have a quick look at the stats again here. So yeah, see, like I was just thinking that might be why her punches are looping, is because she's often taller than her opponents. I mean, she's
a big girl.
Yeah,
isn't she?
150. I mean, she's 5'6" at 155 compared to 5'3". But then Hebas has got a 1 inch reach advantage on her as well. But then look at the strikes landed per minute, over 5 per minute for Rodriguez and almost 5 for Hebas. Striking accuracy is really good for Hebas, 73%. There's not much fat to trim there. And then takedown average is much, much higher for Hebas. I mean, I was expecting this to be a striking match until the point where Hebas feels like she's getting a little bit dominated, and then she might try and wrestle. Over 50% accuracy on takedowns, 85% accuracy at takedown
fancy
defense
with,
as well.
Up against the fence too, that judo will kick in, and
Yeah.
you know what judo is like. 1 minute you think you're safe, and next minute
You're airborne.
spine just got piled through the canvas, and you didn't even realise what happened. You know.
True
I like her. She sees what she's 10-1. Rodriguez is 12-1. It's pretty similar, really, isn't it?
Yeah. 12-1-2. She's had 2 draws, and then that Rodriguez's last fight was that split decision loss to Carla Esparza. That's a big credential, and that was also Fight Island as well. That was the Whittaker Till card.
Yeah, right.
We know what Carla Esparza's like, though. I mean, she can just drown you with a steady wrestling pace, and it can be very frustrating to fight her. And I did get that feeling all the way through that fight, that she was just frustrated that she couldn't get into a scrap, because that was the vibe I got from Rodriguez, is she likes to scrap, which is why probably her striking defense is slightly lower than Hebas, because she's far more direct,
Prepared to just get in there and take one to give one.
And then hardly any sub attempts for Rodriguez, 0.2 compared to almost 2, 1.9 for Amanda Hebas, and she's finishing those submissions.
You know,
as well,
even as we're talking, that Hebas pick I think that's our pick.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I think so. I think she might even beat it to the punch every now and again, and then if it does go to the ground, or she wants to get it to the ground, I think she'll take it there.
She's a good pick moving forward generally, to be honest. I'm just going to have a quick look at the rankings and just see where these two ladies are sitting, because I mean, like, these women's divisions are wide open. Like the fight, I don't know, I keep going back to the weekend, but it's still fresh in my mind. Like Sarah Morris against Vanessa Mello, it was one of the slowest fights on the card. And I remember as they were walking,
Dana in the press conference kept talking about the prelims, and he was like, everyone knew what fight he was talking about, right? Yeah.
I was annoyed that she was annoyed that she lost the fight.
Yeah, what made you think you were winning that?
Like, you can't be annoyed. You landed 7 jabs.
You know you don't get points for noise, right?
Right.
You're not getting any points.
Serena Williams would have been proud.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me have a quick look at these rankings, strawweight, because I'm just interested to see where they sit in this division. So we've got Rodriguez in at number 8 and Amanda Hebas at 9.
Wow.
That can't be right, because Tisha Torres is also at 9. What's going on there?
Joint 9th.
There's a joint 9th. No, Amanda Hebas must be 10, and they've just not updated that number. So 10 against 8. You know, something to be gained for Hebas here, but then, like, Rodriguez.
The thing is with those divisions, though, the depth isn't massive. There's not 50 people in that division, so everyone's around the top 10. Yeah. You know, top 10, top 20, everyone's sort of around there.
Well, that kind of goes back to what I was going to say about Sarah Morris, because if she'd have finished if she'd have got a finish at the weekend, she'd have been ranked 3rd in the division for finishers with a record of 7-7.
Yeah.
So like the top end of the spectrum, you've got Zhang Wei Li, Rose Namajunas, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and I've mentioned her as one of my standouts for this year is Yan Xiaonan. Like, they're killers. They're all good fighters. Yeah. And then underneath that, Carla Esparza, who's just a nightmare with her wrestling, and Nina Ansaroff, who we don't know what she's going to look like coming back. She's just given birth. She looks like she's got straight back into good shape. I would suggest. A little bit tired. But she looks like she's got straight back into great shape, you know. And then, you know, Gadea, Waterson, then Rodriguez is there.
It's like with these female divisions, it's like a lag from what was happening 10 years ago with the male divisions. They're just getting, you know, there's a whole heap of girls that are just shot up to the top, and clearly there's like, look at those 5, like they are straight out killers now. But then the division underneath it is just gradually getting wider and wider, and you know what happens with bases of triangles is that peak just gets higher and higher, and it's just a replay of what's happening in the male divisions. It's an exciting time for the women's divisions, right?
Yeah, it is,
because the level is just elevating seemingly from competition to competition. Plus, we're seeing these new people coming in and stocking up the divisions.
Yeah. And even looking further down that division with like Angela Hill and Jandiroba and stuff, like there's some good fighters on their way up.
Yeah.
But these are the two standouts. Hebas and Rodriguez are the two standouts. Rodriguez has had an attempt at number 4. She wasn't quite able to get it, but it was a split decision. It was close.
Yeah.
Which one are you picking? You
I'm
going with Hebas?
I'm going with Hebas. Like I said, I was watching a few of her fights last night. I like her.
Yeah.
I like her.
Bit
Tough,
more of a well-rounded
skilled,
game.
moves well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Punches straight down the pipe.
This one's lightning. Frevola against Azaitar.
I'm so torn on this.
Yeah.
I'm so torn. You know why? Because we love Sarah Longo, right? Treated us so good when we went out, spent some time with them. Love Matt Serra.
I saw him at the weekend. He's in good shape,
Is he?
He's dropped some pasta
Dropped
pounds.
the pasta. That's literally what I was going to say. He must have dropped the pasta. But, they looked after us, and we have a lot of respect for them and their camp and what have you.
So much fun to listen to as well in the corner.
And Frevola, right? The best analogy I can sort of come up with is he's like a toddler in a muscle car. He's just got this just heat, and he's just like, fuck, let's go, and he's just throwing this shit everywhere, and he can't control this power. And
I'm stealing that. A toddler in a muscle car,
right? You get me, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I was watching him. He just seems like so excited about to get out there, and he's going to whack some people and stuff. And I just personally don't think he moves particularly efficiently, and I don't think he moves in a calculated fashion. He's just moving. I got to move. I'm going to move. Whack. And he does have some serious hands on him, for sure. But I think maybe Azaitar is a bit crisper, and he moves a bit more efficiently, and he's very plyometric, and he has good reactive sort of strength. He's bouncing in and out, but it just seems a little bit more calculated. Like he's not moving for the sake of moving. He's moving to encourage you into a trap that he's setting. And equally, he's got some heat in those hands.
Power. I was just looking at his record as well. So he's undefeated, 13-0.
Yeah.
He's only been to the distance once, and 10 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission. But like, if I look at his very first fight, he started off in welterweight. He's got 19 seconds. Then you skip a fight and he's got a 14-second knockout. Then you skip a few forward, he's got a 56-second knockout. You know what I mean? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 first-round finishes in 13 fights.
Imagine what your confidence is feeling like after that.
Amazing.
13 in a row. Come on, let's go.
Yeah. And made his UFC debut out in Abu Dhabi as well.
Yeah.
It was 242
Moroccan,
though.
right?
Yes, he is. Him
Yeah.
and his brother. His brother's very dangerous as well, but he's...
What, in case his brother grew up in a different country, is that why he made that point? Well, they're both from Morocco.
They're both from Morocco, yeah, not just one of them.
I mean, you never know.
His brother's a lot more heavily muscled though, and he doesn't seem to be quite as efficient. Powerful, no doubt, but just not quite as efficient as Ottman and Azaitar. But they're a great little team together, and they've got bank behind them. They've got money behind them. I mean, like Morocco has invested in them as their athletes.
You're our boys.
They've got the flags everywhere.
What do you
They're
need? You're
going
our
beautiful
boys.
cars. And I mean, they're living the life. They are superstars.
Right.
And the other thing as well is there's a lot to be said for stopping a guy that's the one to stop. Like Karma Worthy was coming into that fight on a 7-fight win streak. He'd already beat Devontae Smith and Luis Pena in the UFC, both by stoppage. 1 first-round knockout, 1 third-round guillotine. But then he lost to Azaitar by TKO in the first. That's a big statement because he kind of takes that heat then as well,
Yeah.
Am I swaying you? Which way are you going?
No, I'm just,
We'll pick it and then let me see if I can convince
Azaitar,
you.
I think I can't really see past Azaitar, and the only reason I would is because I'm swayed by we just love that camp that Frevola's coming out of.
Yeah.
I think it'll be too efficient for
camp,
him.
though. Yeah, it is a hard-nosed camp, and Frevola is there to be hit, unfortunately.
And like you say, man, we sort of know that camp. Yeah. They're tough. In that camp, you're a tough cookie. You're not going to be scared about getting hit. I just wonder whether you should be a bit more scared about getting hit by Azaitar.
Yeah. I would
he does
probably
stop
agree
people,
with
doesn't
that. That's a hell of a scrap though, and Frevola is one of those guys that he's just rock 'em sock 'em. So if you leave yourself open, if you go in there with too much confidence and you clip him and then spend your gas tank trying to finish, you don't get it.
Yeah, he's still going to be there.
Yeah.
He's still going to be there.
He's going to be tough and durable. You know, he's going to have a ground game working with Matt Serra as well. You know, there is well-rounded guys, good wrestlers in that area of the world as well. I mean, obviously, you know, training with Ally Quinter and the like. So you're going with Azaitar, are you?
Lock him in, Azaitar. Lock him in. 14-0.
Right. This
By
is
finish.
a fun one. By finish.
By finish.
What, another first round?
Oh, come on. Can't give you that as well. I think
I'm just leaving you to answer to Matt Serra when you say.
God, I hope I don't see him. No, he knows how much we respect their camp and how much we respect what they did for us during the GSP camp.
He's a superstar.
They're good dudes.
Yeah,
they're good dudes.
Right, I'm gonna let you tell me about this next fight and what you think, because we've got Jessica Ai, who's a like pissed off, aggressive background in wrestling, fighting out of strong style, which is Stipe's team.
Yep.
And then Calderwood on the other side, amateur boxer. Yeah.
So got amateur boxing and wrestling.
Yeah.
Never been to Abu Dhabi. Well, never fought in Abu Dhabi as far as I know.
No. But then Calderwood on the other side.
Much more athletic than Jojo, in my opinion. Moves much more athletically. But Jojo is very tough. And I think she'll slow her down with her kicking game. I think she'll pepper her with a kicking game, and I just don't think Jessica will be able to do what she can do with her legs when her legs have been kicked out from underneath her. Jojo beat Lee in Fight Island last time out, I think. So just double check that.
She's looked better since she's moved to Vegas. Obviously, you know, she's married to John Wood, who's a well experienced MMA coach. But she beat Andrea Lee by decision, but then she lost to Jennifer Maia by armbar, which is frustrating because that's what Jennifer Maia got the title shot off. But I mean, the truth is, you know, and I think she'll be honest with this: if you lose to Maia by armbar in the first, you're not ready for a title shot anyway. But then we know for sure that Jessica Ai hit that ceiling because she's already faced Shevchenko. That was a brutal head kick knockout. I mean, that was a really nice clean finish. So that's the thing. I keep going back to, well, I don't know, it's the low kicks because that's going to risk the takedowns. Jojo might find herself on her back over and over again every time she throws that low kick. Whereas if she uses her teeps and her head kicks, like one of Jojo's best performances was against Valerie Letourneau, and she teeped the shit out of her in that fight. Yeah. And that's a useful weapon to use because she's a great kickboxer, isn't she? She is. She really is. Yeah. It's close. As you've been talking, it's leveled it out a little bit. I thought you're going to go for Jojo, were you? But no. I've got down to go for Jessica because I just think my bias is she's got striking with her amateur boxing. She moves really nicely, and obviously she's got the wrestling. And for me, Joanne was a little bit one-dimensional. I know. Obviously, her game is expanding constantly, and you know the fact I'm sure she'll be working with the PI out in Vegas as well, right? So definitely working with the PI and with Roxanne Modafferi as well. Yeah, so you know, her conditioning, her strength stuff is going to be, you know, as good as it gets, really. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to go with Jessica. Just I think she's a touch more well-rounded. Okay, but I'm just going to highlight another fun one, right? I'm just going to highlight another. Fault in that pick. Well, with you being a strength and conditioning coach, I know that this is going to ring in your ears. She's missed weight the last 2 fights. I mean, it's 2021. It's just you don't have to do that anymore. If you want the information, go get it. Like it's out there. You can go get the information. What does that change your? I mean, she fought 5 rounds in her last one against Cynthia Calvillo. Sorry, did you say she missed weight in her last 2? Twice, yeah. In her last 2, or she's missed weight twice? 126. No, she's missed weight more than that, I think. 126 and a quarter she was. So she was a quarter pound over for that fight. Where does she fight out of? Strong Style in Ohio. Right. Stipe, Forrest Pet's the guy I fought over there. Good wrestlers, but hard-nosed boxing wrestlers. You know, I just find it weird that when you're in an established camp, like that Stipe's camp, that you can be getting stuff wrong to miss weight. Like it doesn't, you know. I know what you mean, doesn't make sense. But then I get it if you're in the middle of nowhere and you don't have the resources. But then she has the PI resources as much as any other fighter has the PI resources. Yeah. You're as close to the information as anybody if you've got the internet. Yeah. But that, I mean, the one before that was 6 pounds she was over. I mean, 5 if you give her the £1 allowance. That's not even trying, right? No. Yeah. And there's a bit of needle between the two.
Yeah.
Because Jojo doesn't like it when people miss weight.
You know.
And she has trash talked a bit, which is very unusual. Hearing from Jojo, doesn't talk too much. She's very quiet.
Yeah.
Sticking with that.
Slightly swayed me for a second then, but I just fundamentally I can't change my pick because you take it as a moral victory. So whatever's written down is I'm going with, no matter what you say.
I'm brainworming you. You don't like it.
P. Diddy and me again.
Is that what you're going for then?
Yeah, we'll go. I like Joanne, and I think she's going to be a great, she's going to be a great representative of us over this side of the world. But I think Jessica might have a number just slightly.
It just seems to be that kryptonite for Joe Calderwood is someone that can put her on her back.
Right.
And we need to see something off Joe Calderwood's back to at least scramble back to her feet.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, she knows what's going to happen. She knows what to expect from Jessica I. So the likelihood is that she spent the whole training camp preparing for that. Jessica I might step in and just bang her with a big shot, and because she's expecting a takedown early.
Yeah. No. We're going with it.
Yeah. And will she make weight?
Win. She'll definitely make weight. Definitely make weight.
Tell you what, them burgers at the WN Fight Island are good.
Yeah, right.
That's the good. A little taste of one in my mouth.
Come on, Jessica. It's 2021. You need to be making weight. For real.
Oh, co-main event.
Oh, man. Whew.
I'm disappointed this is 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Genuinely disappointed that this is 3 rounds.
I love this fight. There's a lot of different narratives in this fight, right? I love this fight.
Give me your first pick straight off before I start brainworming you.
I'm gonna go with Mike Chandler, and not really because I want to, but just because there's a couple of things when we were chatting about it I haven't seen from Dan Hooker, because I really like Dan Hooker. I really like the way he goes about his stuff. I really like his camp. He seems their whole camp seems very cerebral in addressing space, manipulation, movement. They seem like this is not foreign concepts to them, and obviously I like that resonates with me. He's from Auckland. If you're, I don't want to. Hopefully, I don't upset him. I'm assuming he's a Caucasian dude growing up in Auckland. You're not the biggest dude in the fights you're having if you're growing up in Auckland,
right?
And you're a long, skinny white dude.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be fazed by that. And Auckland's a tough city,
Yeah.
It's no joke. Like, I've got a lot of friends from Auckland, and that can be a pretty tough city. And I think he would have. You can tell, right? He's not bothered. He gets in there, and I think you may have even mentioned it. He's probably too keen to get hit or too okay with being hit, and sometimes he could just rein that in a little bit, and he'd do himself some benefit. Strong resume though. You look down that list of people he's fought. That is a strong resume.
Yeah, and you go back to that Poirier fight, and he won the first 2 rounds in that one. In my eyes, I'm not sure what the scorecards had said.
I really like him, man. I really like him. I didn't like him when he knocked out our boy Ross Pearson.
No.
Shout out to Ross
at
Central Coast MMA. Ross is running. I don't know if you're following on Instagram now, but
he's
just living the life.
He's
man.
a great coach.
I'm happy for him, man. He's got a beautiful wife, beautiful family, beautiful house. He's got that gym that's pumping out there on the Central Coast in Sydney. He's killing it. The problem I have is when I look down that record of Hooker, I haven't seen him deal with that out and out decorated wrestler. Chandler looks like Sean Shirt, right? He's got a Sean Shirt back on him.
He reminds me of Matt Hughes.
Yeah.
Like that drive through. He's like, there's some trajectory on those takedowns that like him and his opponent are often airborne when he's finishing those takedowns.
NCAA Division 1 All-American.
Yeah.
That's not messing around.
That's one step before the Olympics, isn't
right?
it? Really,
that's not a couple of wrestling sessions. That's legit.
He's in wicked condition as well.
He looks in good condition. Yeah, I won't go there with the Bellator testing policies, but you're in the UFC now, and USADA's cleaning it up.
Yeah,
he punches heavy, right?
He does punch heavy. Both hands, single punch, bam, switch your lights off.
I don't think Dan Hooker's gonna be too bothered about. I think he's probably smart enough and understands the striking art enough to deal with that. I don't feel like he's going to be tempted to walk onto something from him. It comes back to the wrestling. Like I haven't seen Dan Hooker deal with someone of that level wrestling.
The thing is with it, it's different. It's a different kind of wrestling, and this is a point I've tried to make a few times. Is so Dan Hooker, like very very technical gym. The first couple of minutes of his fights, he's usually quite technical. You know, he's like against Poirier, he was standing back, he was hitting him with the jab, working some inside low kicks. He gets to that point about 2 minutes in though, where he kind of wants to get stuck in. Maybe that's the Auckland coming out of him, you know. But like he wants to scrap. So a lot of that like cerebral trap setting and stuff that the city kickboxing guys do, it kind of falls by the wayside because he loves to scrap. This is over 3 rounds though, so it's not going to be a 5-round war like it was with Poirier. And if the Poirier had been stopped at the 3rd round, he'd have probably won on the scorecards. So like over 3 rounds, Dan Hooker might be able to hold it together for long enough to keep this fight on the feet and do the business. But even though his takedown defense is nearly 80%, most of his takedown defense is against the fence. So like if I'm him, I'm skirting the edge of the octagon.
And also look at who he's defending those takedowns against. They're kickboxers and BJJ guys. They're not wrestlers. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So you should have that takedown defense. You should do, because you know that's who he's been fighting. And
the other thing as well is Chandler is a power double kind of guy, and he's not a chain wrestler necessarily. Like I think the chain wrestling is probably what works against his conditioning, given the fact that he's so powerful. Whereas someone that has, you know, maybe slightly less muscle definition, isn't quite as physically imposing, they can chain wrestle for days. Yeah. Like Makhachev, Khabib, like they can just stay on you for days and just keep stripping your base away and working you down. Yeah. Dan Hooker's there to be taken down because he stands a bit like a Thai boxer. He stands high on his back leg. He does get into a scrap, so he doesn't mind waiting.
Getting his centre of mass backwards is not that difficult, right? Because he's so upright.
And he's tall, so you can fold him in two. You hit him at the hips and you fold him in two, and then the weight's effortless because it's on your shoulder. That's the difference that Michael Chandler brings to this lightweight division that I don't think we've got at the moment in these rankings. He's someone that can Matt Hughes power double you into the air and then into the canvas, as well as knockout power in both hands.
Just to counter that a little bit though, I don't trust people's resumes outside of the UFC.
Right. But what about the opponents though? Because he's faced Ben Henderson, he's faced Prachio Pitbull, he's faced Eddie Alvarez. Yeah. And he's had wars with these. I mean, he has had wars with these guys again. So he does get drawn into a war, but there is also wrestling if he needs it. Yeah. And I think like Eddie Alvarez and Ben Henderson are not going to be as easy to take down as Dan Hooker if you're in on their hips.
I think if he steps in and tries to have a standing war with Hooker, he's going to get lit up.
Yeah. What about that Neil Center talking of Ross?
I really do, right? Because I think Dan Hooker's striking and that whole camp striking is the future of striking. Like it seems like it's difficult, right? Because you don't actually know what they're talking about in their camp. But my perception is they're talking about the evolution of the striking arts for sure. Yeah. Like you can just tell by the way they seem to be moving.
Well, Izzy had a few narratives going on in the Costa fight. You know, he had a few different traps that he was setting that he could have taken any of them. I'm not sure.
They're talking about that in camp. You know, they're exchanging ideas and they're pressure testing these ideas against each other within their camp. And you know, Dan Hooker clearly sort of strikes like he's come out of that camp. You can see that. Yeah. So yeah.
Which way are you going?
I'm gonna go. Oh god!
Oh, I could change your mind here.
Yeah, I know. It's really close. It's 49. It's 49-51.
He's there to get hit.
He's there to get hit, but Mike's striking's not that level. He's heavy, right? And you know, if you let him whack you, he's heavy and he's powerful and what have you. But it's not. It doesn't seem as calculated as Hooker. But then the thing is.
But then a part of the reason why he's so successful with his strikes and his fights is because people are, do I block, do I defend, do I block, do I defend? Yeah. It might be a benefit that Hooker doesn't really defend power doubles. If I'm him...
this is not your influence, but I could change my mind here very, very, very quickly.
If I'm Dan Hooker coming into this one, I'm going to pretend I'm Israel Adesanya and I'm going to skirt the edge of the fence. Yeah. So if there is an opportunity for Chandler to double leg me, at least he's only going to drive me into the fence where my good takedown defense takes over. If he's out in the centre of the octagon trying to walk him down like he was with Felder and Poirier, he's going to get folded in two and taken down.
I've got written down here, he'll pick him apart from the outside and he'll frustrate him. Chandler will rush in and drop him with the right hand as he rushes in, and he won't even see it coming.
That's a very specific pick.
Yeah, it is. I don't know what, that must have been late last night. Well, that's why I see it, because I can't really see it happening any other way, right? He's not, if it gets up against the fence, I think Chandler will be too strong and too durable and too smart and too wrestly to let anything happen, unless he gets caught with a knee, maybe in the pivots of the clinches, turning him off or pulling him out, elbows on knees or something. I'm not sure, but I want Hooker to win, but it's 49% Chandler could win. But I'll lock in Hooker. I think he could do it.
Okay.
If he does it exactly how I said, I'm sitting there next week. And you can see it.
You can sit here and work all the electronics. This thing's making me nervous because the battery's dropping. And I keep thinking about checking the record on the phone as well.
Where are the Raptors?
Where are the Raptors? Raptors. Where are your picks?
Here we go.
You need the picks as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going with Dan Hooker for that one, then, are you? You going with Michael Chandler?
No.
With Dan Hooker?
Dan Hooker, lock him in.
You're going with Michael Chandler for that one, are you?
No.
You're going with Dan Hooker?
Definitely going with.
You're going with Dan Hooker?
With my Antipodean brothers from down there. I've spent a lot of time with people from New Zealand.
Oh, that's what it is. It's pressure.
In Australia.
It's pressure.
I wouldn't want to.
They'll be listening
want to
to
abandon them in this situation. And my boys.
Yeah. Okay. I'll figure this out. I think you think Chandler's going to win, but you're just scared.
I mean, you very well could, right? You very, very well could. It's a very, very tight. Yeah. And even though I have just bet against the wrestler, you got to be careful betting against the wrestler. We're not there yet, where everyone's level has just come up to nullify it, and we're not as bad as it used to be, right? Back in the time when we were trying to work these things out.
Go on, you can say it.
We
not as bad as your wrestling.
No, but I mean, it wasn't. It wasn't. I'm not even joking. It wasn't you. It was the evolution of the sport. In that the wrestlers came in and just blasted everyone, and we didn't have answers at the time, and it has changed, and it's everyone is developing, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
It's an amazing skill to have, especially at the NCAA D1 All American type level. It's a hell of a skill to have.
I'm going to throw one more thing in there just to see if I can nudge you from that 49 to 51%. No, you can't. Raptors have raised that stamp on the screen. I'm going to see if I can sway him. The Edson Barbosa fight was a punch to the body. Michael Chandler being shorter and powerful. If he's lunging in for takedowns, he's also lunging in for body shots, and he might rocket him in the stomach and fold him in two with that. But also, imagine the impact of that shoulder going into your midsection.
Yeah, man, but that's, I mean, Hooker's not going to be fazed by a body shots,
That was me getting taken.
I mean, that exact scenario could well happen.
Look at that, Dan Henderson. I wish I was as tan as that.
He's hench.
Yeah. My figurine is actually more coloured than this on the... this is very, very pale and faded. This has been on the back of a boat for 12 months.
No, that's you in England for 12 months. That's why it's that pale. Not seen the sun. I don't know.
Look at my tattoos, though. Although it does look a lot like
this. Bali, I think, by the look of it.
It does. This does look a lot like the dude off Cobra Kai, though. I keep seeing people tag me.
Someone tagged
this guy's this. Yeah. You copied this guy.
What?
Came out last year. Okay. Anyway,
come on.
Right.
Here we go. I won't have you say.
I'm saying nothing.
I won't have you say a word against my boy.
Go on. Who's your boy?
I fucking love Conor, man.
Yeah?
I fucking love him, man. I love him. And I get it. I get why people don't like him. And I get the hate. And there's a couple of different types of hate. Obviously, the sort of jealousy hate that comes along with the fact that he came in here, completely changed everything and made some serious money.
Dough.
Of course, you're going to have the haters about that.
See that new watch you bought? Did you see it? It's like a snow globe.
Probably came through with a yacht.
Yeah, he arrived at the hotel on a yacht.
I heard, yeah. Good on it, man. I just, look.
Living the life.
All of those haters, if they could swap out for him. And the thing...
But they won't do the work for it, though.
No, well, this is my point. The thing is, this weren't an accident.
Nah.
Like, he was busting his ass in those back streets of Dublin, in those gyms with roller doors, day in, day out, in the cold, in the wet. It'd be miserable. And he was doing it because he loves mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
And, he's had his run-ins with his sort of behaviour outside of training and fighting and what have you. But to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure I trust myself in that situation either. I've just come onto the scene.
I've seen you with 100 quid in your pocket.
Do you know what I mean? 100 quid in my pocket and I get loose. Do you know what I mean? 10 mil suddenly. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to slip up.
10 mil, 100 mil. And rising.
No, at the time though, do you know what I mean?
Okay.
At the first time. And
But what does that do for his motivation, though? Because that's the question that I keep getting.
I know, but it's not his motivation.
No?
That's not his motivation.
Not
He
anymore,
loves
it's
mixed
not.
martial arts.
Okay.
You know
So
that,
he's a
man.
student. I know.
He's
I'm
a
just
student
fucking
of
with
it.
He's a student.
He loves mixed
Yeah,
martial arts.
absolutely.
He was, it's obviously petrol has been poured on to his narrative, but he was talking about very similar things before. He was talking about making it. He was talking about visualization. He was talking about the art of martial arts. He was talking about all of these things before, and you touched on it. You touched on it before. Like, people would take the piss out of touch butt in the park with Ido, but that, for me.
Yeah, but now you've got Diego Sanchez to compare that to. It looks very normal.
It's completely normal, right?
You've got Tony Ferguson wrestling a fucking
more things
hot
than
tub.
butts getting touched in that yoga studio. for real.
I wouldn't trust that, guys.
Right?
Owen and I were backstage one of Diego's last fights. Did we tell you about it? I think I've got a video of it on my phone somewhere. He's literally standing in the middle of the octagon with his arms out, with this big scarf around him, just spinning around. Like a kid trying to get themselves dizzy and then falling over. He was literally doing that in the octagon.
It's either LSD or CT. I'm not sure which way around it is, but something's going on.
It's one of the triple letters.
Something's going on.
Yeah, there's something going on.
Anyway, look, people took the piss out of him about playing touch butt with Ido and stuff. But for me, I knew that wasn't the main part of his program. This was something that he was interested in. He wanted to understand movement and how all these little bits, piece together. And in my world, the strength conditioning world, that obviously set people at two ends of the spectrum. Oh my God, that's ridiculous. He needs to be doing gym. Why is he doing gym? And then the other side of it, last he's doing movement. Bench press is useless. And
get him a sledgehammer and a tire.
I know a couple of the guys around his camp, and we communicated back and forth. And he just sent me a picture of him the day before. He was in the gym doing bench press.
And he looks massive, doesn't he, as well?
And he seems to me to be on aside from all the bells and whistles, he's on a mission to understand combat, and he's and to understand all the synchronicities that come with that. And that is something we talk about on the regular. This is why I love him, and the fact that he then has the personality and the kahunas to say what he says, build these cards around him. He should get showered in money, because, like, with all due respect to Leon Edwards is a hell of a fighter. Right? But no one really talks about him because he doesn't do it. He doesn't do that thing. He's not. Connor's hilarious, man.
He is.
He's hilarious.
Oh, dude. That line with the Chad Mendes fight.
Oh my God.
What about wrestling? I wrestle my balls with you.
Right? Who the fuck is that
And what
guy?
I loved about it,
God,
what I loved
so
about it
good.
is the fact that he was finding it funny as he was thinking of it.
Right.
Like, that's, we always trash talked against each other and stuff, and you and Jimmy would like, it went from one level to another.
It gets slightly darker.
But the thing is, it does train your mind, doesn't it, to think fast. Like, I remember like going to football games with my dad, like Saturdays and Sunday football games, and like it was basically a bunch of pub men that
Just
were in
taking the piss out
decent
of each
shape,
other.
just taking the piss. But it forced you to think quick.
Right. So this is a segue, but similar topic. So I moved to Japan, and the Japanese culture is whatever the boss sort of says you do. Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Two hands for a credit card.
Don't really deal with any shit for like 4 years. I go from there to a rugby league club in the north of England, and like day one they were like, "Who the fuck's this?" And like I even said to them, I said, "Oh my God, I used to be really good at this, but I've got soft. You guys are taking the piss, and I'm taking it like literally."
Yeah.
I'm really pissed off. Like, you've lost it. I was like, mate, I was good at this. Me and Jimmy went back and forth day in, day out. But you just you get used to it, and round Connor's camp, they've been taking the piss out of each other for
all the
years.
time.
That's how you get through it.
Yeah,
banter. Camp's miserable. You need some comedy. You need some piss take to lighten the situation when you're on the 7th day in a row for the 3rd session of that day, and you're just like
And it bonds you, but it also pushes you as well, because you are trying to get inside the other person's head.
Just to see what see what happens. Oh,
Like,
wonder if he does break.
Exactly.
Oh,
like
Jimmy
would
put him back together, but it's nice to see him break.
That's exactly it. It's like they'll take you apart, they will put you back together, but it does push you in. It does tune your mind to not only be able to be more dismissive and more resilient to that stuff, but also to be much quicker.
Yeah.
Much quicker.
Yeah.
And like, I remember going from training like kind of opposite way around, like training with all you boys at Tigers and Roughhouse, and just hearing this constant trash talk.
Barrage.
It was like, I mean, if I'd have recorded that and played it in the US in a gym there, they would think we were literally about to fight.
Someone's getting shot.
Yeah. But then when I went over to train there, every gym I went into, it was the opposite end of the spectrum, which actually made me feel quite uncomfortable. Because people are going, oh, dude, good session today. I'm like,
what? They're taking the piss?
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
Yeah. So that's kind of odd. But then you kind of see that.
It's like over here, if someone said, oh, you're really good today, you'd be like, oh, God, I must have been awful.
Yeah.
Go home and take
you think they were taking the piss? They're being sarcastic.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
But there was no sarcasm in it, which is a little disconcerting. But I would have, like Marcus Davis, I was like on him all the time, and he just didn't seem to have that resilience for it.
I mean, if you could have had that fishing emoji at the time, it was just a perfect, like, oh, got a bite.
But you see that with Conor, like as he's saying this stuff, he's laughing, he's enjoying himself, and he's not only enjoying the fact that he's just completely joking and not taking any of it seriously, but to see somebody else completely pull themselves apart, and to know that is the best way to beat Poirier is to get him into that state.
Poirier seems like he's dealt much better this time, right? And to be honest,
it's different kind of approach though.
Yeah,
I mean, no press conferences, face-offs, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
That might all change when he sees that
heat.
first.
Yeah, it might turn up the heat a little bit, mightn't it?
Because they were okay, and Poirier was like, I'm going to keep my calm at the press conference. And then as soon as they came together, it was like, no, fuck this, I'm on him.
Yeah.
And then it was the weigh-in stage, and that was when we were still making weight on the day as well, I think, as well. And even then, they were like trying to get to one another. I actually watched that the other day. You can see Joe Silva trying to get in there, and like, oh no.
I mean, I read a lot about teams and developing teams and leadership and stuff, and they don't phrase it like this. But one of the ways of bonding new teams is taking the piss out of each other, and that's why you do icebreakers. That's why you do things that make you uncomfortable in front of everyone, right? Yeah. And then that's the way you galvanize a team. And it does, even acutely with our team, like years of taking the piss, it just bonds you to a point where you can sort of fall out, but you're not falling out because it's fine, but we'll circle back around in a couple of days or whatever. Like it's just the way it is. Yeah. And I think that's where the foundation comes from, is because of years of saying the worst possible thing you could think of about you, and then getting on with it, and it's all done.
I mean, it's definitely a big part of McGregor's game, and it's something that he's not been able to quite apply as much this time around. But almost like with Cowboy, like when he went in with Cowboy, he was very respectful in the build up to it, which on the flip side was quite disconcerting for Cowboy because he wasn't expecting it.
Probably like hyped up, ready. I've got all these things I can say back to him. Like,
and nothing was coming back. And that
mind you, I don't know.
Cowboy does it to himself.
Yeah, but I don't think Cowboy would be one to get in like a massive verbal back and forth. He's just like, dude, we're gonna fight tomorrow. Like, who cares? Like, we're gonna fight.
Yeah, and Cowboy is much better when people are kind of bantering and friendly with him anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's he's uncomfortable when people take him very seriously.
Someone needs to crack Cowboy in the changing rooms. Just crack him and piss him off. Do you know what I mean? And then he always seems like he's just like slow starting, and he's kind of like sussing stuff out too much. You see this. It's all psychological. Man.
It's all psychological. Like when he fought, was it Till and Edwards? Both times he was at the arena early, like going through his walkout, and and they even got to the arena before everybody else, and then left, and then came back later. Yeah. And this is part of the reason why he likes to fight regularly. It's because he needs to stay in that state where he's active. You
ever heard that underwater caving story that he tells?
Oh, dude.
Oh. What a maniac! Yet he still goes back and does that shit now.
Yeah, crazy.
Oh,
he's chasing something, isn't he? His own mortality.
That dopamine release of near death or whatever. But crazy.
I just wonder whether Poirier is going to be able to overcome that, especially because Conor's saying 60 seconds. I'm going to do him in 60 seconds, and now Poirier is going to get in there tense for that first 60 seconds. Yeah. Here's a question for you. A tension in the muscle. If someone's got anxiety, if they're tense, is it easier to knock them out, do you think? Would it make more sense that way?
Well, I mean,
it just seems rigid. Like, because the thing is, when he starts wading forward, when he's comfortable and he's warmed up, he's taking punches, but he's relaxed. He's like kind of riding the punch.
I would say
when he's tense, it's like
so it's the movement of the skull and the brain touching the exterior of the skull, right? So I would think it would be more to do with the fact that if you were loose and tense, you'd be rolling punches and you'd be going with it. So, you know what I mean? You're taking just a little bit of sting out of it. Whereas if you're tense and you get whacked, then your skull is shifting one way and your brain is staying still, and then it's touching the side and then it's lights out, right? So if you are nice, relaxed and moving and, you know, absorbing a little bit and rolling and stuff, of course you're less likely to get knocked out because you're taking a little bit of that power out of it.
I just, because like when he starts, once he's gotten past those, the rough kind of round and a half, which is not what you want against McGregor, really. If you don't want to be a slow starter, a tense slow starter.
Nah.
Like if he gets past those rounds, then we start to see him like working his way into range. He's very effective because he squares up his stance. He stands very square. He brings his shoulders up, and he does start to ride punches much more. But I just feel like it's kind of. It's like you said with Cowboy, someone just needs to punch him in the back and get
him up.
I remember coming off my first knockout loss, and I think then there was this weird conversation in my head, which was as soon as they touch me, I might get knocked out.
Yeah, right.
And it's like
big
a
psychological block to get over.
And it does make you tense.
Problem is though, like there's very few who have mastered not time and space in terms of the fabric of time and space, but mastered the art of manipulating space like Conor. You know, that's because he's focused on one specific tool as well. You know what I mean? Like, you know exactly what he's going to
But
he's manipulating space and timing and stuff to let that weapon of mass destruction go. And he knows that. And everything else, it's like, I've got a few team sport analogies, but it's probably not for this one. But everything else he's doing is to guide you and trick you into thinking you're out of the range of the weapon.
Yeah.
And then bang, he whacks you with a weapon. And, you know, not many people can take it, can they?
No.
Not many.
Because it's accurate and because it's well timed, and usually because they're fairly tense when he's throwing the strikes as well. It just always seems to be very effective. So I broke it down on War Room, and like the Eddie Alvarez one, where he's like he's kicking his hips back.
Yeah.
Like he's throwing his arm out there. He's like, I can't reach. Bang bang.
And that combo finish of when he finishes him, it's just
And that was.
I remember watching it. I was like, what the fuck?
Witchcraft, isn't it?
Witchcraft.
Yeah. And that's not that's a consistency as well, because I mean obviously we've seen his punches moving forward, and it's so consistent as well. Even with the camera angle shot, you can get exactly the same shot of the Siva, the Brandao, and the Mendes stoppages.
Yeah.
Punching them across the fence as they're moving away from him.
Yeah.
But then you've got Aldo is rushing towards him, ran straight onto a left hand. Eddie Alvarez, and then the fight he had before the UFC, Ivan Butchinger, he did the same thing with that. He goaded him in and then slipped and then countered over the shoulder.
I know you've probably talked about on War Room, but we've talked about it a lot, is the fence panels and the manipulation of which fence panel you're in control of. You know, I'm pushing you. I know where I'm pushing you to. Yeah. I know what fence panels are in play here. And, you know, I'm manipulating to a position where I can let go whatever weapon it is that I want to let go.
Yeah. And he has a nice cycle as well. I could do with like an octagon on the wall. So like he has that cycle. So we'll have to get one drawn on over Judge Dredd. Because what's nice is he kind of chases. It's like like DC has got that. I call it the grind cycle for DC, because he's all about embracing the grind. Like he drags you down, he beats you up against the fence, he keeps stripping your base down, he forces you onto your arms so you post and then he hits you.
Demoralising, right? It's
just breaks you.
Work to get base up. Oh, the elbow. Oh, elbow's gone. But okay, work up to get the base up, elbows down. It's just demoralising. You know, it's breaking you physically in a way, because there's an energy cost to having to keep repeatedly do that. But mentally, even more so, it's just breaking you down. Like, I feel like I've got a way out here. Oh, no, I don't. I feel like I've got a way out. Oh, no, I don't. Oh, great. Now he's punching me in the face as well. Yeah. And it's like Khabib when he gets that handcuff at the back. You know, demoralising. You work your way out, you get that out. Oh, I got the handcuff again. You know, that's the grind, isn't it?
It's an endless cycle. And McGregor, a different end of the spectrum with striking, has got that, the wide stance, the long range kicking game, which he uses to sweep people up against the fence. And then he puts them in that same kind of cycle. But like, he's teeing him up for the left hand. He'll punch him across the fence into the corner. And if he misses, they scoot out and he just skips 2 fence panels and resets.
It's like the kicks almost aren't about the kicks.
No.
The kicks is about, I'm manipulating you with these kicks. Yeah. It's not about the kicks. You know, he's not doing that much damage. And I'm sure he could do damage with these kicks he wanted to, but they're manipulation kicks. They're guiding you and just ushering you over to certain areas so he can do the real damage. I love him, man. I love him.
So from a strength and conditioning coach perspective, then from Conor being at 170, and he wanted this fight at 170 as well.
Yeah, right. So he's got that in his mind. He's happy. He's probably cruising around at
He's got to be at 85,
185,
yeah. I would
something
say
like that.
180, 185. I don't think he cut too much to make welterweight for Cowboy, but he was
Yeah.
shredded and in good shape. Like, what does that do for him physiologically now, having to go back down to 55?
I mean, look, it's not like he's been rushed into it. Don't forget. He'll wake up and his breakfast is done.
Yeah.
He'll train and his post-training shake will be done. His lunch will be done. His snack will be done. His second post-training shake will be done. His dinner will be done. Calorie controlled. His output will be controlled in his training. Like, this is down to a fine art. I don't think it will be. He looks hench though.
Yeah.
But again, like, as you layer that muscle on, it you can manipulate that to hold water, so he can look big, drop all that water out, and then he goes back down, and then he pumps back up again. It'll be a fine art for him. It's not. I don't see. I would imagine he would have preferred it at 170 because it takes the rigmarole out of doing all of that. Mm-hmm. But people are doing that for him anyway.
Especially because it was over Christmas.
Right? You probably wanted to just enjoy some proper 12 and...
Yeah, I did actually have a good look at his Christmas dinner because he posted a couple of photos. He had a lot of veg on his plate.
I think it's called a banquet by the time you get to that level. It's not dinner, it's a Christmas banquet.
Yeah, what point does it get to a feast? Yeah. Yeah. What about if we hear the ding ding fourth round?
I mean,
what about Darce chokes? What about shooting out of fatigue and panic? Because people talked shit on me when I was said it before the Nate Diaz fight. Oh, I'm cramping. Before the Nate Diaz fight, the first one, and this is up inside the octagon. I remember sitting at the side of the Thames with John Gooden doing a short turnaround breakdown because it was a remade fight. We'd already done the previous breakdown. And I remember saying in that, like, the Diaz brothers, they don't have a wrestling game. They force you to wrestle into their jiu-jitsu
and counter it, yeah.
And that's exactly what happened in that fight. I mean, obviously that was at 170, and that was a Conor McGregor that was coming up from 45.
Yeah, right.
He was supposed to be fighting at 55, wasn't he, against RDA?
The thing I think about Conor's physique and
you love it. You got posters all over your wall.
His side is, aside from that, he like, the perception is to a degree that muscle can be bad. But muscle is only bad because of the knock-on effect from sort of bodybuilding routines and strapping on muscle without building the oxygen kinetics underneath it so that you can support that muscle. I don't think that's the case. He's doing gym strength training, of course, but he's also doing all of the energy system training around it to be able to support that extra tissues. So I can't see that. But the thing with Conor is, it's to some degree, you have to steal from Peter to pay Paul. You can't be as twitchy as he is, and you can't execute as fast as he can execute and be able to grind out, 5 rounds for 5 minutes. It's
like a nitrous tank, isn't it?
There's a muscle tissue composition issue going on there, and you can't really have best of both worlds. And even if, I'm sure they would have sat down as a crew and wanted to increase his work capacity so he can go 5-5. And potentially have to wrestle. For instance, for Habib might have to wrestle for 5-5s, but he's not going to want to downplay that twitchiness because that is, we know that, punches land within split seconds of each other, and the guy that can enact his nervous system and his muscular system quicker than the other guy, they're the guys that land. And there's just not space in the striking arts to be a split second slower. So you can't have everything. You cannot have, physiologically, you cannot have everything. And I'm sure they have done everything they can think of to increase his work capacity to support his output. You can't have everything.
Yeah.
So
he didn't seem to gas, though.
The Diaz brothers would fight for 50 minutes non-stop if you want them to, but they're not the same twitchy. They don't beat people with twitch knockout, twitch striking. They grind you down with repetitive strikes. It's not the same type of athlete.
Yeah, my new favorite word for it is erosion.
Yeah, right.
They erode you.
It's almost like a more miserable way to go, right?
Yeah.
It's
like a slower version of Max
Holloway.
Holloway.
Down to death instead of just being shot in the head. It's like, which way around would you? If you're going to die anyway, which way around would you want to do it?
Take me out. Yeah.
Can you see anything in Dustin that makes you think he has closed the gap? A, has he closed the gap, and B, do you think he's closed the gap enough to actually make this anything than the way I think it's going to go?
I don't think technically there's a great deal that's changed about about Poirier from his WEC days, and I sat and watched his back catalogue a couple of weeks ago, and it's, I mean, the guy that was fighting, what's his name, Mickelwright, back in the WEC is the same guy that was fighting Justin Gaethje. There's a slight adaptation to his game, the fact that he's added some more strikes up the center. Like those early days, what was the kid's name? Yeah, Zach Mickelwright. Like that was a 53-second TKO. But I mean, he probably threw 80 strikes in that time. Yeah. Like, I mean, it was volume, whereas Conor would have probably done it in 2 or 3. So like that's not changed about him at all. We've not seen any submissions since he was a featherweight. So that's something else that I'm kind of thinking, well, I mean, obviously we know he's got a good Darce choke, but most of the time he's not going looking for it. It's often if someone shoots in on his legs. I mean, it's a much quicker solution than trying to take somebody's back and rear naked choke like Nate Diaz did. But the big question for me, and this is the southpaw v southpaw thing. Like most of the time, McGregor likes facing orthodox fighters because he's throwing his power hand, he's controlling their lead hand, and he's punching them straight down the pipe. And he's also forcing them to move in a direction that's very uncomfortable for them, like into a choke point, into the corner. Yeah. When Conor fought Nate Diaz, both southpaws, that left hand kept rolling over his lead shoulder because Nate's he's like a floor standing punch bag. He's like one of those inflatable arm flailing tube men. Like you hit him and he just bends away and then comes back. Yeah. So it's like that's a challenge for Conor to try and land the left hand clean without just rolling it over the lead shoulder, and then the emergence of calf kicks. Like most of the time, Conor's fights don't go long enough, but you only need 1 or 2 of those to really dismantle it. What's it called? The fibular nerve. Yeah. It just shuts that leg down. Yeah. And the first punch that McGregor threw in the Cowboy fight, it was pretty much 100% lunge on his lead leg to throw the left hand. Didn't land it, but consistently all of his weight's on that lead leg. So if you take away that calf, it's going to nullify his kicking game. It's going to take away power out of his hand. And it's also going to take some mobility down, which means that then Poirier can start moving in and moving out. And moving in and moving out. Yeah, and then Conor's a bit laboured. Then he might want to try and wrestle.
I mean, it's probably the only way, really. The way you're sort of breaking it down is someone that moves like Conor, you have to stop them moving like Conor.
Yeah. So Steve Papp always used to say to me, attack movement.
Yeah.
It's always stuck in my brain, that as. He's like, attack movement. Yeah. It's like, like you control the space, you dismantle them, you put the person in the position you want, which is what Conor's great at. Conor's great at putting you in a position to land that left hand.
Manipulating you without you even realising you're being manipulated. Just going back to the Darce choke stuff, I feel the thing I always think with the submission game is there's always process behind it. So I would feel like they've looked at Dustin. They know about the Darce, and there's a reasonably tight progression where you put that in place to get out the Darce, and Conor's team and Conor himself have the skill set around him that they would have. I would feel relatively confident that we have systems and processes around that. If this happens, there's a process to do here. Yeah. Don't let this happen. You should never let them get there in the first place. But if this does happen, this is our process to get around that. And obviously, I know Poirier's got a good Darce and what have you, but I feel like you'd have to make him very, very tired before he zones out to the point where he can't remember system and process to counter that. Yeah. I mean, quite possibly. I'm just. If I go back to the calf kick thing, if you damage the leg of Conor, which is, I mean, he had a knee injury in the Max Holloway fight and he wrestled in that fight. Yeah. Like, I mean, and you can't do a Khabib training camp without improving your offensive wrestling as well. You just can't, because, as much as you're working your defensive wrestling, at times you're going to turn it around on your opponent and wrestle them back. And when you're training that right, it can't be, you just attack me the whole time, because it's impossible for you to make that function. It has to be us wrestling. And then by the nature of that is then we get better at it.
Exactly.
You just keep shooting at me because I'm always going to shoot at me.
Yeah.
So I already know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
There's a limited amount of output you're going to get from adaptation from that kind of training.
Go on then.
Yeah, Conor all day, man. I can't see, the reason I asked you, I can't see how Dustin has closed that gap enough. I don't, to some degree, I do feel like what has happened to Conor may have distracted him for a period of time, but all signs seem to be that he's back in on it.
Yeah.
And he's training hard. He looks in great nick. The narrative that's coming from him suggests to me that he's in love with the sport.
Well, it's not for money, that's for sure.
Right. What's the point? You might have even said it in the war room is, well, what's he doing it for?
Yeah.
You know, it's not like 80% of the roster are fighting because they need some money. You know, there's only 20% that don't actually need the money, and then there's some guys within that 80% that would be fighting whether the money was there or not. But
then I'm just going to throw this one more out there before we lock it in. Conor on the dole on benefits, he's got much more of a dog in him than Conor with 100 million in the bank if it goes deep.
Yeah, but if he truly loves mixed martial arts, it's almost irrelevant, right? I get the dog bit. I get if it comes right down to the wire, and you know whether I stay in this or I'm out. But you know, is that nature nurture anyway? Did he always have that, and is he always going to have that?
Maybe.
You know, that might be a function of his upbringing and what have you, and he will always have that. I've seen it in team sport players. You can coach into people, but generally, you either got the dog or you don't have the dog. And if you don't have it, well, coaches sort of need to recognise that and build skill sets around that, so you don't have to rely on the dog. But unfortunately, in pro sport, and especially in this sport, the dog gets revealed.
Yeah.
In more than any sport in the world, the dog gets revealed because there is no sport like this. Nice. To the point where, you know, it should sit on its own. Really, I love it, man. It's just
kind of not sport, is it?
We've talked about this as well. Is all other sports use terminologies that are from this sport. You know, we're going to war, we're going to battle. You know, we're doing all these things. You know, we used to say it to players.
Got to fight.
You know, you got to show some fight today. Oh no, you're actually fighting today. You know, and there's a very limited rule set in there to protect each other from each other. You know,
it always makes me laugh when a football player, a football coach is like, "You've got to fight for the ball."
Oh, okay, sweet.
I can do that.
Right, let's go. Easy.
Yeah,
easy.
So you locked in then, McGregor.
Yeah.
That was that's your most certain pick of the whole card anyway.
Yeah.
We've gone down it. So, okay, let me just review your picks then. So we've got Roundtree over Prachio. We've got McMann over Pena.
McMann over Pena with the wrestling, yeah.
We've got Tavares by decision over Shoeface.
Yeah.
Shoe. You remember the shoe people? Remember that? Remember that cartoon?
You're on the wrong podcast host.
Podcast
guest for that. You've got Roll Owen in for obscure 80s and 90s TV shows.
Tsarukyan,
yeah, definitely.
Heavy wrestling here. Hebas.
Definitely.
Otman Azaitar.
Yep.
Jessica
I, real close, but yeah, Jessica I.
Dan Hooker, wishful thinking. Can't change it.
No, I can't change it. You know what? Because we were close to changing. Now I can't remember which one. I think I'm going to go with Dan Hooker because I want him to win it. Okay. Heart
over logic. I can respect that.
Yeah. There's one there that's heart over logic. The rest seem like they're relatively argued out.
I'm excited for this. I always say this about people, about the organization that we do not name, which I still find very strange. If you want to be a champion, you go there. If you want to be the best, you come to the UFC.
You have to come to the UFC.
Got to. And now he's here, we're going to get to see whether he's UFC standard, which I mean, obviously I feel very much like he is. It's where in the top 10 does he stand? Because the UFC had him in there as an alternate for Khabib Gaethje. That just shows the UFC's confidence in what he can do.
Yeah, true. And, you know, they wouldn't do that. That's not good for them to do that in any way if that wasn't the case.
No.
You know, so
but then that might be to get the champion from another organisation beaten. So.
Maybe, but you know, even then, I don't think they've elevated themselves to the status where they don't even have to do that now. Do you know what I mean? They don't have to prove that they're the best organisation in the sport. They, you know, for the majority of sort of casual fans, they are the sport.
Yeah.
Let alone that, you know, they wouldn't. You know, that's the way they are. And
that's like leaving the NFL and coming over to play in the elite league in England because you get weighed in.
It says elite, so it must be. It's the same, right?
Yeah.
Not
and
quite.
the exchange rate's really good, and they don't mind you fighting in the elite league. So crack on with it.
No, man, what a card! What a show it's going to be, and. You know, I don't think we've necessarily ever talked about it, but the way Dana and the UFC have pivoted through this pandemic period is just
been impressive.
I'm just amazed by it. And you know, it's their MO. Why wouldn't they? Of course they would. You know, they do what they want and they get it right. and Dana's the figurehead of that. We talk about business quite a lot now, but he probably doesn't get the credit that he deserves in terms of being one of the pivotal businessmen of our era, really. Do you know what I mean? He's took something that was relatively nothing, built it to this company, and then just keeps nailing it left, right. Just keeps nailing it.
Yeah.
And there's lots of businesses that come up and then disappear, and he's brought it up there, and he's just constantly kept it as the showpiece for the sport. Amazing.
Yeah.
More power to him.
Wicked.
All
good.
Wicked. Yeah. It's good concept in it. The Picks app's a great concept. I'm really looking forward to it.
Make sure you get your app downloaded. UFC Picks. And you can sign up for a free account. You can get yourself in the mix. There's £5,000 to be won, which is a nice chunk for a free account.
Yeah,
I'm
looking forward to cashing that chip in with my picks.
Well, we'll see. I'm not so sure. There's a couple of questionable ones on there. But hey, he's making the picks for Full Reptile. I'm just devil's advocate. So we're
going to roll this show out for every card, pretty much.
Every card we're going to do this show, and we're going to try and do. So what my plan for next week, we'll do like a review of 257 as well as. I know there's not.
That's going to be awkward for you when we do this review, and you just like, oh, yep, you picked the right one, and another one, that one's right as well, and Hooker one, that's good.
If you get all of these picks, I'm going to cut out a photograph of you and stick it onto my UFC credential and hand it over, and you're going to Fight Island next time.
Analyst on the bottom.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
All good.
Wicked, man.
Wicked. Nice one.
Good start.
First one in the bag.
Yeah,
Hope you enjoyed the show. UFC Picks. Go and get the app. Join in the conversation. Join the community. This is going to be a fun one. Catch you next time. Remember, you can play with all of the other UFC fans on the new UFC Picks app, available for download on Apple iOS, Google Play, or visit www.ufcpicks.com. It's free to play, and there's a chance to win £5,000 cash. Participants must be 18 years of age or older, UK and Ireland residents only, terms and conditions apply, and remember to always play responsibly. If you or a friend have a problem with gambling, make sure you seek help and visit www.begambleaware.org.